worked hard to earn a promotion, only to discover my colleague falsified records to take credit for my success, leaving me with the choice between publicly exposing them or protecting my reputation and career from a workplace catastrophe. I'm 31, my name is Evan Laird, and I've been working at a logistics firm in Chicago for the past 7 years. It's not glamorous, but it's a living. I started out as a junior analyst fresh out of school and worked my way up progressively. I was that guy who worked late, double-checked all the spreadsheets, and sent thank you notes after each meeting. I did not have family connections or an MBA. I had determination, and I thought hard work counted for something yet. I believed I was right for a bit. My boss, Claire, 47, was the kind of woman who noticed effort. She'd risen from the bottom ranks too, so I respected her. She always told me I reminded her of herself at a younger age, and that meant something. I was not her favorite or anything, but she trusted me. When the company made an announcement that one of our senior project managers was retiring, Claire let me know privately I'd be a contender for the job. I tried not to get ahead of myself, but I would be a liar if I said I did not go home that night and think about what it would be like to have that title at last project manager Evan Laird. It had a nice ring to it. Then there was Riley, 34, my coworker. He joined 2 years after me, and from day one I could not figure him out. He was smooth, charismatic, always making jokes, always talking about team synergy. The kind of guy who got people to like him immediately but never managed to get his own reports in on time. He'd drop by my desk, clap me on the shoulder, and ask if I could take a look at his data before he submitted it. I didn't mind at first. I was a team player, but then it became a habit. He'd hand off big chunks of work to me with a, "You're better with numbers, man." I told myself at first it was teamwork. Then I noticed our department presentations always featured slides that looked strangely familiar, my format, my numbers, my words. But it was Riley up in front of senior management, receiving credit for his analysis. I remember one meeting when he lifted a line I'd written word for word. Everyone laughed, Claire smiled, and I sat, staring at the table, pretending not to care. I cared. I cared deeply. I started keeping a log, not out of vengeance, but because I had to ensure that I was not going crazy. I dated copies of my spreadsheets, email timestamps, proposal drafts. There were clear patterns. Riley would ask me for my opinion on something, and 2 days later, he'd present it as his own. Still, I remained professional. I thought, if I just kept doing my job, Claire would come to see through it. Guys like him burn out. Guys like me endure. A few months later, Claire called me into her office. I'll never forget the day. She said the promotion was a close decision, that she appreciated my dedication, and that the head honchos were reviewing both my and Riley's performance records. I walked out of that office with my heart racing. It was finally beginning to feel like all those late nights had been worth it. Announcement day, our team was summoned into the conference room. I hung towards the back, pretending cool. Claire gave her speech on leadership, innovation, integrity, all the things that I believed in. Then she smiled and said, "I'm happy to announce that Riley will be filling the new project manager role." My chest went empty. I smiled by instinct, clapping along with the rest of them, but I couldn't feel my hands. Riley grinned, made a little bow, and looked directly at me. That smile, God, I can still see it. It wasn't gratitude, it was triumph. I thought to myself, maybe there was something that I didn't know. Maybe management wanted somebody more outgoing. Maybe it wasn't an issue of fairness, but presentation. That night, I went home and sat on my couch with takeout and silence. My girlfriend Mara, 29, asked what had gone wrong. I said I was happy for him. She did not press me, but she did not believe me either. 2 weeks later, I tripped upon the truth. I was operating on the common server for one of our ongoing projects when I ran into a folder entitled Old Reports. It was not supposed to be there. When I opened it, I froze. Inside were copies of papers I had prepared months before, but modified. My name removed, his inserted. Edits here and there, Slight changes to make it look different, but the framework, the data, the conclusions, they were mine. Every single bit of it. I sat and stared at the screen for a long time. My heart was pounding so loudly I could hear it. I scrolled through the files and the evidence was undeniable. He'd been forging records systematically, renaming documents, and presenting them as his own. Those reports that got him the promotion were mine. I felt a near rage for the first time in my professional life. Not anger, not frustration, rage. The kind that tightens your throat and blurs your eyesight. I shut my laptop and just sat, gripping the edge of my desk. I did not know what to do. If I said something, I would be accusing a senior manager now. He was popular, well-connected, and I was just me. Quiet Evan who kept to himself. But if I didn't say anything, I'd spend the rest of my career life knowing I let someone get all over me. That night, I barely slept. I couldn't get out of my head all those years I'd wasted believing the system was fair if you just worked hard. My father used to say, "Do your job right, and the right people will notice." He spent his whole life working in a factory, and maybe things were different back then. But the world I was living in wasn't so black and white. The next morning, I opened my laptop again and stared at the proof. I had every file I needed to demonstrate what he'd done. But I also knew what would happen next. HR would get involved, there would be gossip, my team would be devastated, it would be ugly, and even if Riley got fired, my reputation might never recover. I'd be the guy who couldn't handle losing, so I didn't do anything, at least not yet. I went to work, I sat in meetings, and I pretended everything was okay. Riley even stopped at my cubicle one day and said, "Hey man, we're a great team, huh?" I forced a smile and nodded. Something broke inside me. I wasn't the same from then on. I couldn't laugh at office jokes, couldn't enjoy post-work cocktails. Whenever somebody congratulated Riley, I felt sick. It wasn't jealousy, it was injustice. Pure, suffocating injustice. And still, I said nothing. For as long as I could. For deep down, I knew this wasn't finished. A week passed, then 2. I simply continued to show up for work, do my job, pretend everything was fine. It wasn't. Whenever Riley entered a room, my stomach would churn. His laughter would cause my jaw to tighten. He started talking about his new direction for the department as though he'd been some kind of genius all along, and they all nodded, smiled, followed his lead. Even Claire. That was the worst part. I respected her. I trusted her judgment. But she had no idea what really happened, and I couldn't make myself tell her. I wanted to believe that she'd notice on her own, that maybe one day she'd notice inconsistencies, or someone else would point it out to her. But people see what they want to see, and she wanted to believe she'd chosen the right guy. That's how management works. They don't look back once they've made a decision. Mara noticed I was slipping. One night, when we were eating dinner, she said, "You've been off lately. You still upset about the promotion?" I shrugged and said, "I'm just tired." She put down her fork and said, "You're not tired. You're angry. And you should be. He stole from you." Having her speak the words out loud had a bigger impact than I expected. "I can't prove it without risking everything," I said. "If I go to HR, I'll look bitter. Nobody wants to work with the guy who calls a witch hunt." Mara crossed her arms. "So you're just going to let him get away with it?" "I don't know," I said softly. "I really don't." That night, after she went to bed, I opened up my laptop and checked the files again. I didn't even know why. Maybe I was punishing myself. Maybe I was trying to convince myself I wasn't imagining it. The truth was staring me in the face, and I was still doing nothing. The next morning, I got to the office early. The building was quiet. I made coffee in the break room and sat at my desk, staring out the window at the city skyline. Chicago was chilly that day, gray skies, rain marks on the glass. I thought about everything I'd worked for, Every late night, every sacrifice. My dad used to tell me, "Your name is your word." Right now, mine meant nothing. Around 9, Riley strolled in like he owned the place. He stopped by my desk, leaning on the partition. "Hey, buddy," he said, grinning. "Need your magic touch on that client report. You're the numbers guy." Something inside me clicked a notch. "You mean the report you'll give as your own?" I asked. He hesitated, his smile faltering for a half-second. Then he laughed. "Come on, man. Don't be like that. You know I always give you credit." "No," I told him, my voice still low. "You don't." He looked at me differently after that. Not scared, not guilty, just calculating. Then he smiled again. "Take it easy, Evan. Nobody likes a sore loser." He departed, and my hands were shaking. For the first time, I was sure he wasn't opportunistic. He knew what he was doing. I had lunch later that day with Jordan, 38, a coworker who'd been with the company longer than I'd been. We weren't friends, but we'd chatted enough to know each other's rhythms. At lunch, I asked, "Can I ask you a question?" "Yeah," he replied. "Did Riley deserve that promotion?" He snickered. "You really want to know what I think?" "No." But he played the game better. "You're good at work. He's good at politics. Different skill set." "So that's it?" I asked. "That's the way it is now?" Jordan shrugged. "Always has." "You think this place runs on fairness?" I didn't answer, but his words stuck in my head. Maybe I'd been living in a dream. Maybe hard work wasn't enough anymore. But that didn't mean I had to be taken advantage of. That night, I came home and told Mara, I'm not going to let him get away with it. She asked me what I was referring to, and I said, I'm going to find a way to prove it without destroying myself in the process. I didn't have a plan yet, but I started gathering everything. Files, emails, timestamps, project notes, even Slack messages. I put them in a dedicated folder on a flash drive, every bit of evidence that associated his name with my work. And then something surprising happened. Claire called me into her office again. She looked tired, under stress. Evan, I wanted to touch base, she said. You've been quieter lately. You all right? I paused. Here was my chance. I could explain everything to her, but my voice failed me. Yeah, I said instead. Just settling in. She nodded. Good. Because I might need you to help on a new client pitch. I know you and Riley worked with parallel datasets, and he said you're fantastic at logistics forecasting. I almost burst out laughing. He said that? Yes, she said. He said he learned so much from you. That moment destroyed me and lifted me up at the same time. Half of me wanted to slam the evidence on her desk and scream, he's lying. But another half of me felt something strange. Validation, even if it was through a lie. She thought I was capable, even if she had no clue how much. As I left her office, I sat at my desk for a bit, thinking. If I exposed him now, everything would blow up. HR investigations, office politics, possible legal issues. But what if I waited? What if I outsmarted him more than he outsmarted me? That night, I made a decision. I was not going to confront him directly, not yet. I'd let him get complacent. I'd let him think he'd won. And then I'd make sure everyone saw the kind of man that he really was. The next few weeks were a blur. I toiled away on the new client pitch, and as usual, Riley leaned on my research. But this time I did something different. I planted subtle watermarks in my spreadsheets. Not real ones, but encoded markers, small numerical designs that would be detectable only by me. Designs that, when replicated, would be proof the information originated from my files. It was my quiet rebellion, my secret signature. Mara said it was a risk. What if he finds out? She wanted to know. Then he'll have to explain why he's accessing my files, I said. For the first time in months, I was taking control. Not victory, not yet, but control. I knew it was a long game. He wanted quick wins. I was willing to wait. One evening, I stayed late to finish a report for Claire. While I was gathering my things, I heard voices near the break room. Riley and another manager, Trent, were talking. I didn't hear it all, but I did hear Riley say, "Yeah, Evan's fine with numbers, but he's not leadership material. Some people are just not cut out for it." I ground my teeth, walked out quietly, and out of the building without a word. I didn't need to hear any more. I already knew what kind of person he was. But now, I was done playing his game. 2 months later, I took the chance at last. We were busy preparing a large pitch for a new client, Alberton Freight, which was one of the biggest clients our company had ever pursued. Claire was depending on Riley to deliver the pitch since he was the new face of management, but she assigned me to be his stand-in on the statistics and logistics forecasts. I knew very well what exactly that meant. I'd do all the work, and he'd stand up there smiling and collecting applause. Nonetheless, I consented. This time, I was ready. I built the report myself, added blunt performance projections, and keyed in my secret markers again. I saved each iteration, dated each revision, and emailed the drafts to Claire herself with my name clear on them. But I knew Riley. He wouldn't be able to resist taking my draft and adjusting it prior to presentation. That's the type of individual he is. I worked late the evening preceding the pitch. The office was virtually empty with only the sound of the air conditioning humming and the sound of cars passing by along the exterior. I posted my final cut at 10:30 and left it in the group drive under Team Review Final. I departed, and as I passed by Riley's office, the office light was on, but he was not around. His jacket was resting on his seat, and his laptop screen remained open. For a moment, I lingered and chose to leave. I was not going to be like him. I did not have to. The next morning, when I reported, he was already racing through the rehearsals with Claire. I sat in my office as he made his way through slides that were infuriatingly familiar. My formatting, my phrasing, my sequence of data points. It was my work, just reworded a little bit. I kept my face blank at the meeting. I nodded, took notes, played my part. Claire was satisfied, and the client was thrilled. We closed the sale. There was applause. Riley was shaking hands with the Alberton team like he'd won an award. Claire was turning to both of us and saying, "Excellent job. Riley, fantastic leadership. Evan, you were essential as always." I smiled and said, "Thanks." But in secret, I was already well ahead, because this time I had proof, not suspicion, not versions of the files, but digital signatures, covert identifiers that would track every copied cell and point of data back to my source directly. All I had to do was wait patiently. A couple of days later, Claire put out a company-wide announcement boasting of the success of the Alberton deal. Riley was featured front and center. Mine was mentioned not even once. That was when it hit me. This was no longer about fairness. This was about integrity, about the type of person I wanted to be in this world. I'd spent my whole life doing things the right way, assuming merit was enough. But right doesn't mean weak, and integrity doesn't mean silence. That Friday, I requested a one-on-one with Claire. She consented for Monday morning. I didn't sleep that weekend. Mara cautioned me to be cautious. She told me, "You have the truth, but that doesn't mean they'll want to hear it." She was right, but I couldn't turn back anymore. Monday came. I went into Claire's office with the flash drive in my pocket. My palms were wet. She smiled and said, "Evan, how are you?" "Honestly," I answered, "not great." She raised a small frown. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath. "I need to share something with you. It concerns the Alberton report, and not just that one." I plugged the flash drive into her computer, accessed the directories, and guided her through everything each of the files Riley had worked from, every timestamp, each pattern that ran back to my originals. I explained the data markers I'd made in and showed her how they matched. She had not uttered a word for 20 minutes. She just sat there staring at the screen. When I was finished, my voice was shaking. He has been plagiarizing me for over a year. I did not want to believe it at first, but I can no longer turn a blind eye. Finally, she slumped back in her chair, exhaled slowly and stated, "Evan, this is serious." "I know." She rubbed her temples. "Why did you not tell me earlier?" "Because I didn't want to sound like I'm accusing someone of something without proof," I said, "and I didn't want to sound bitter at getting the promotion." She nodded slowly. "You did the right thing telling me about it now. But you know this can't stay between us. HR will have to get involved, I understand." She looked really sad. "I trusted him," she said quietly. "I thought he was a good boss." "He's not," I told him. "He's a thief." The next week was wild. HR came to pull me in several times, asking for information, forms, timelines. They also interviewed Riley. I could feel the tension between us whenever he walked by my cubicle. He no longer smiled at me. The jokes were gone. The charm was gone. He knew. And then, 2 Fridays later, an internal email was sent. Brief, cold, sterile, effective immediately. Riley K. has resigned as project manager. No explanation. No goodbye email. Nothing. I just sat there stuck in my chair, rereading the line over and over again. I thought I was going to feel vindicated, maybe even exhilarated, but I felt empty. Claire stopped by my desk later that day. She put her hand on my shoulder and said to me, "You did the right thing, Evan. Sorry it had to end like this." I nodded. Me too. We'll be rehiring the position in the near future. I can't promise anything, but I hope you'll give it some thought. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Maybe." That night, I walked home instead of taking the train. The city felt altered, quieter somehow. I drove by a coffee shop Riley and I had gone to for lunch, and for a moment I felt a little sorry for him. Almost. When I got home, Mara hugged me and said, "So it's over?" "I think so," I replied. But it didn't seem like it was over. It seemed like something had changed inside of me, as if I'd lost part of the person I used to be, the one who believed that an ample amount of hard work would be enough. On the following Monday, Claire called me to her office again. "I wanted you to hear this from me," she said. "You're being promoted to project manager." I blinked in surprise. "Seriously?" "You deserve it," she asserted. "This firm needs people who truly value integrity." I thanked her, shook her hand, and left. My co-workers congratulated me. They smiled all. It should have been one of the happiest days of my life. But when I sat at my new desk, his old desk, I felt uneasy. The room still had a lingering scent of his aftershave. His coffee mug was still in the drawer, and his ghost filled the quiet. I got the title, the praise, the respect. But it did not feel like victory. It felt like consequence. That initial week following the promotion was a dream. Everyone acted as though they had always thought it would be so. People who could scarcely speak to me before were stopping by my office, congratulating me, calling me boss. I smiled, thanked them, but everything was hollow. I had waited for years for this moment, and now that it had arrived, I was unable to enjoy it. Maybe because I knew its price, or maybe because I knew that success didn't erase betrayal. It only changed its face. Claire started relying on me more. She trusted me completely, and I liked that, but now it was different. Meetings, reports, constant check-ins. I was doing the same job Riley once did, and every day I could feel his shadow over me. It wasn't paranoia, it was consciousness. I'd witnessed how easily trust could be lost, and I didn't wish to be that guy. One morning, around 3 weeks in, I got a message from HR wondering if I'd be open to giving feedback on some recent leadership changes. It seemed routine, but when I met with them, I realized they were really asking one question. How did I feel about what had happened with Riley? I told them what was true. I don't hate him, I told them. But I don't respect what he did. I just hope the company learns from it. They nodded, took notes, thanked me. After that, I noticed how everyone had quietly rewritten history. People whispered that Riley had had ethics issues. Some said they'd always thought something was off. Nobody did. Nobody said anything when he was all over me. That's just the way jobs work. Everybody only sees what's best for them. Nobody wants to take sides until it's safe. Mara told me I had to stop obsessing. "You won," she said one night when we were eating dinner. "Let it go." "I didn't win," I said. "I just didn't lose." She frowned. "You can't live like that." "I'm not trying to," I said. It's hard to celebrate when you know you had to expose someone to get here." She put her hand on mine. "You didn't expose him. He exposed himself. You just held up the mirror." I wanted to believe that, but I couldn't. I couldn't get his face on that last day out of my head. He didn't even have the decency to empty his desk, just gone. And although he had it coming, part of me still sympathized. Because I knew what it was like to fight for a place in this business. I knew how cutthroat it got. I got an email from him a month afterward. Short. Simply put, "You got what you wanted. Hope it was worth it." I read it 3 times before I deleted it. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say. But that sentence stayed with me. Hope it was worth it. I couldn't help but wonder what he was doing now. If he'd found another job. Whether he held me completely responsible. Or if somewhere inside, he knew he'd done it to himself. In any case, I didn't seek him out. I didn't have to. He was in my past now. Yet every now and then when I'd be working late, I'd open up old project files and see his name on old reports. It was like discovering a ghost in the code. A reminder that everything we build, reputation, trust, success, can be rewritten by someone else if we're not diligent. I finally started rebuilding my team in the manner in which I felt it should have been to begin with. Transparent, collaborative. I gave credit where credit was due, even for small things. I made sure no one ever felt invisible like I did. And slowly, the weight started to lift. It was a Friday afternoon when Claire stopped by my office again. "You've really turned things around, Evan," she said. "The team's happier. The clients are impressed. I'm proud of you." "Thank you," I said. "I'm just trying to do things differently." She smiled. "Different is good." Then she paused. "You know, I've been thinking about what happened with Riley. It made me realize how easily perception can be manipulated. You taught me that. That line stuck with me. Not because it was a compliment, but because it was true. We all want to believe we can distinguish good from bad, honest from corrupt, but most of us only see what fits our narrative. It's comforting. It's human." A few months later, I saw Jordan in the lobby. He looked taken aback to see me in the manager's chair. "Well, look at you," he said. "You made it, finally." "Yeah," I said. "Took long enough." He laughed. "Guess the game's not rigged after all, huh?" I thought about that for a second and said, "No, it's still rigged. I just learned how to play clean in a dirty system." He laughed, slapped me on the back, and walked on. But that sentence stayed. Because it all added up to something. The thing is, I still catch myself wondering about Riley from time to time. Not in anger, not anymore. Just curiosity, I suppose. I wonder if he ever looks back and considers how close he came to being really great, if only he'd done the work himself. But maybe that's the difference between people like him and people like me. Some of us believe the work is the reward. Some just need the attention. A year has passed now. My life is settled. I am good at my job. The team depends on me. Mara and I moved into a new apartment along the river. Everything is okay. But each time I walk into the office, I remember the price that was paid to be here. And I remind myself that success without honor is but noise. Every now and then, when we have new interns, I tell them, if anyone ever steals credit from you, document everything. But don't let anger get the best of you. It'll destroy you faster than injustice will. They always smile and nod politely, most probably thinking I'm being dramatic. That's all right. Maybe one day they will understand. Claire asked me last week if I would mentor one of the new staff members. I said yes. His name's Ben, 25, nice kid, plenty of energy, Reminds me a little bit of myself a few years ago. First thing out of his mouth was, "I just want to prove myself." I smiled and said, "You will. Just make sure when you do, it's your work that's getting noticed." He looked a little confused, but he'll learn in time. They all do. That night, as I walked home down the empty streets, I felt lighter than I had in months. Not because I'd finally won, but because I'd learned what was important. You can't dictate what people do to you, but you can dictate how you react. And sometimes the most difficult thing isn't to fight back, it's choosing when to fight. And why. When I got home, Mara was asleep on the couch. I sat down next to her, looked out at the city lights, and thought about my dad one last time. Your name is your word. I used to think that was about working hard. Now I know it's about speaking up for yourself when nobody else will. That's what this whole story has been about. Not revenge, not winning. A reminder that despite a world full of shortcuts, there remains something to be said for doing the right thing. Maybe not right away, maybe not loudly, but ultimately.